All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and even though I don't have a hard copy, I'm going to try to write the console version of a calculator program similar to the one I showed you in class. So it's not going to be exactly identical to the GUI, but it'll be close. So previously I've done a File New project, and I've chosen Windows Form application. This time I'm going to choose console application, and I'm going to call this calculator console. Calculator console. All right. And there is no GUI to this. Everything is right here. It's in the code. There's my main. So inside of main here, I'll make it similar to the last one. So I'll have double number 1 equals 0.0, and that'll be the first number inputted. I'll have double number 2 equals 0.0, second number inputted. Now, if you notice right now, I'm getting some green underlines. Those are not errors, those are warnings. And they're letting me know I've created a couple variables that I'm not using because I haven't used them yet. I'll have double answer. Set that equal to 0.0. Again, I get the underlined. So just like we said before, that will be number 1 followed by whatever operation. So, add, subtract, multiply, divide, or modulo. Number 2. Okay, so I've got all that. I'm going to have a couple more variables in here. So let's put a comment here that says declare and initialize program variables. I won't have any constants in here. We'll get into that in a later chapter. So I'm going to put int here, and this is going to be select. And I'm going to set that equal to 0. I can't say 0.0 or I get an error. That would be an error, and that's why that's in red. Because I can't have a decimal place in a number that's been declared as being an integer. So I'll take that, and I'm going to say, basically, 1 equals add, 2 equals subtract, 3 equals multiply, 4 equals divide, 5 equals modulo. So you know what these are being used for. All right, and then finally I'll have a string, and I'm going to call that operation. Okay, and I'm going to set that equal to the empty string. And that's going to be either a plus, or a minus, or a multiply, or a divide, or a modulo. And if you say, well, that sounds just like the select, you'll see the difference in just a couple minutes. So those are my program variables. All right. Now, I'm going to create, for lack of better words, this is what I'm going to do first. I'm going to say right, not a right line, because I want to stay on the same line. So I'm going to say here right, and don't worry about that. Okay, we talked about this before. I can say here using system.console. Is it console? It's not console. Oh boy, I'll tell you what, let me pause for a second. I want to find out exactly what I'm supposed to be doing here. All right, I quick looked this up online, and what I'm supposed to be saying here is using static system.console. And once I put this line in here, now notice I can say right. Okay? We'll put a blank line in there, and then we'll say here enter first number. Oops, it's kind of ugly. enter the first number. Now we're going to say in here number one equal convert dot to double read line, which in English, and I'll explain exactly what this means, but in English what we're saying there is this is going to put on the screen enter the first number, and after it says that, whatever we enter in there, we're going to attempt to convert it to a double and throw it into our number one variable. It's pretty simple stuff, really, it is. Then we'll say enter the second number. Let's make it so I'm a little anal here. So we're going to have them line up. So that'll say first, and that'll say second. All right, and that'll be number 2. Okay, now we've got our two numbers. Again, this program will blow up. This program will blow up if we enter something non-numeric here. All right. My heat's about to go on, so I'm going to pause yet again. I apologize. Or maybe it won't. I'll tell you what, once it goes on, I will. But I'm going to write a little menu here. I'm going to say enter a 1 for number 1 plus number 2. And I'm going to have 6 of these. So enter a 2 for number 1 minus number 2. Enter a 3 for number 1 times number 2. Enter a 4 for number 1 divided by number 2. Enter a 5 for number 1 modulo number 2. And enter a 6, we'll make this a little different. Enter a 6 to end the program now. All right, the heat has come on, as you can probably hear, so I'm going to pause. All right, so right now the program is going to do some stuff, but not a whole lot. All right, but I just want to run it because I do want you to see what will happen. I'm going to run it the same way I did before. Notice it comes out here. Enter the first number, 23. Enter the second number, 4. And I get my menu. Now, it just blew right off the screen. If I want you to be able to see that number, I'll put the next line in. This right here, remember the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 is that select thing. 1 to add, 2 to subtract. So what does that mean? That means that select is equal to convert dot, not to double because that's an integer, to int. I want to do a 32-bit integer, so to int 32. And again, read line. So I'm saying grab whatever value I'm putting in there, which should be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So now notice if I run this, as we saw before, enter the first number, enter the second number. There's my menu. I've spaced it out. I didn't have to. This right here where it says enter a 6 to end the program now, I probably would want some kind of a value here. All right, so rather than just saying that. In other words, what I mean is probably what I'd like to do would be so now write enter a 6 for the program now. Then I'm going to put in here, come on, just a write statement. Enter a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 now. All right, and notice that now doing with that, see now where my cursor is? All right. Okay, so I'm not done, but now I want to say basically, where did I get that? Oh, that's the end of my main. I want to be right here. So if I selected a 1, so if select equal 1, That means what? I want to do an addition. So what I want to say here is, so if it's equal to 1, my answer, oops, not that, answer is equal to number 1 plus number 2. And my operation, remember this thing up here, operation, this? All right. My operation is going to be equal to plus. In other words, I want to add. Now, I'm getting this here. The answer does not exist in the current context because they spelled it wrong. There we go. All right. So now I've got answer. And shouldn't be giving me that error anymore. I don't know if I can refresh this. Let's try just typing it in again. Answer. ANSWER. There we go. Now that's undone too. Okay, and operation equals that. So there's operation, and there's operation. So why am I still getting the error? String operation equals double quote, operation equals this. All right, so it's assigned, but its value is never used. There's operation, and there's operation. So I'm not sure why I'm getting that. Hopefully that's going to go away. So else if select equal to, well, if it was a 1, we wanted to do an addition. If it's a 2, we want to do a subtraction. I'm just going to copy this because it's very similar. So if it's a 2, we want to do a minus here, and that'll be a minus there. So we're getting there. Else if select equal 3, well then we know what? Do a multiplication. And we will want to do a times here. And here. Else if it's a 4, well, we know then we want to do a division. I said, I guess do a divide, but this is fine. Else, if it's a 5, we want to do a modulo, which is another word for remainder. And if it's not a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or a 4 or a 5, then we have to check to see if it's a 6 because that's the way we ended the program. And why don't we just do this? If you put in anything other than a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, so we'll look for a 6, but we'll just say else here. And we don't exit the same way because it's a console application. So to exit this console app, we say environment dot exit. All right, so now we've handled everything except actually printing out our answer. So here we want to display the answer. So we'll put a right line here. And it's going to look a little weird, but we're going to put in here \n, then inside of curly braces, a 0, blank space, another curly brace, and a 1, and a blank space, and another curly brace, and a 2, and a blank space, equals, and another curly. These are what are called placeholders. Oops. And so, for instance, if I put a 23 and a 4 in, what that should do what that should do is it should say 23 plus 4 equals 27. All right, so I'm going to put this on the next line because I'm running out of room. So this would be number 1. That's what the 0 stands for. Number 2, that's what the 1 stands for. Answer, oh, no. The number 1 is the 0. The operation is the 1. The number 2 is this here. And the answer is this here. Now, if we do it like this, and if I run it right now, it's going to scroll right off the screen. So I have to put another, just a read line all by itself in there. And the only thing I don't like is it's giving me this. There's no argument that corresponds to the exit code. I got to put a 0 in there. And I guess that means it's a natural exit. So let's see if this works, and then we'll come back and decompose it and take a quick look at it. All right, so 23 and 4. Put a 1 in, we should add them. 23 plus 4 is 27. That looks good. Now, we haven't talked about loops yet, so this program, if I want to run it again, I've literally got to run it again. 23 and 4, and I want to do a minus. That looks correct. 23 and 4, I want to do a times. That's correct. 23 and 4, I want to do a divide. That's correct. 23 and 4, I want to do a modulo. Oops, oh, that doesn't look correct. 5 should have been a modulo, but somehow I screwed that up, so I'll have to fix that. So let's look here. If it's a 5, nope, that should have been a modulo. That was my error. Looked good up till that point. Let's run it again. 23 divided by 4 should give me a remainder of 3. And it does. All right, and finally, if I put in anything other than a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, like a 6, the program should just end. Everything is working. That's good. Let's see where I am for time here. 18 minutes, we're fine. So let's go through every line of this program. All of this stuff that's in here, with the exception of line 3, all right, was all put in by the system. I didn't have to add any of that. All right, I put in line 3 using static system.console, so I didn't have to keep writing console.readline and console.writeline or system.console.readline, etc. I didn't have to do that. All right, so the only line that I put in these first 6 lines was that one, just as an alias or a shortcut for me. I named my program Calculator Console, and that's why it says namespace Calculator Console. All right, class, I guess, just defaulted to the name program. And inside of here, starting in line 12 and ending on line 71, so about 60 lines, that's the guts of my program. That's main. So we first declared 5 variables. 3 of them were doubles. Remember, in our last program with the GUI, the first text box held the first number we were going to input. The second text box held the second number we were going to input. And the third text box held the answer. That was the read-only one. So we're doing the same thing here. All right, so we've got all this stuff. Then we have a thing that's our operation. So number 1 was the first number inputted. Number 2, second number inputted. The answer was number 1 plus number 2, or number 1 minus number 2, or number 1 times number 2, or number 1 divided by number 2, or number 1 modulo number 2, depending on whether we chose a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 for our select. And that select, the 1 then equated to setting our operation to plus, the 2 set our operation to minus, the 3 set our operation to multiply, the 4 set our operation to divide, and the 5 set our operation to modulo. All right, this, just for lack of better words, set up our interface. This literally printed on the screen, enter the first number. Since we used right instead of right line, all right, when we got done, we put a space there. So it said enter first number, and then the cursor just waited there for us to add something. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, so again, this was going to write our menu for us. Each one of these is on its own line. So it said enter a 1, enter a 2, and in fact, I don't even need these \n's. It may look a little nicer without all of that. Okay, and let's see, and I think I only need 1 here. I'm trying to pretty it up, so to speak, so it looks a little bit nicer. So let's run it again. 23 and 4. That's a little crisper, so to speak. All right, and I'll put in here a 3. That looks a little nicer. Maybe I could have a blank line between the enter a 6 and the enter a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So let's do that. Stop the program run first. Run it one last time here. 23 and 4. Let's do a 2. That looks pretty nice. Again, this is a console interface, so it's not going to look nearly as nice the way that it's set up as you'll have with a GUI. Plus, unless we were to put this into a loop, we can't continue to run it over and over again. Now, any feedback we give it, even just hitting enter, will stop the program. So this, I'll say here, create and display menu. All right, here, ask user to input selection, which is again a 1 through a 6 are the valid numbers. All right, if it's a 1, as it says here, in addition, a 2 is a subtraction, a 3 is a multiplication, a 4 is a division, 5 is a modulo. Anything else, oops, I don't want to do that. So anything else here, anything else, end program now. And that was the environment.exit. Just say end program. All right, now is with the 0 on there. Okay, display number 1, followed by the operation, followed by number 2, followed by an equal sign, followed by the answer. Add a read line to let user enter anything to end the program now. So that's it. Again, I added some more comments in here, but you'll notice it didn't change the program. So 37 and 12. 37 plus 12 is, whoa, what happened here? Should have stopped and it didn't. Let's try it again. 37 and 12. We do a 1. No, it doesn't like what we're doing here. I did find I had an online version, so I kind of would use that for this as I started, but that's what I have here. Just a read line. That's what I thought it would be. I don't know why it's just flashing off the screen like that. I don't see any errors in here. 2, menu, it's 1, else it's a 2, else it's a 3, else it's a 4, else it's a 5. Oh, I got that in. I don't know why that's in there. Okay, so that should fix it. What do we say? 37, 12, which gives you 49. And now it's waiting to end the program by hitting me hitting any key. There you go. So what I will do is tomorrow I will print out a hard copy of everything I went over tonight. All right, in these 3 lectures. In other words, you'll have a hard copy of the All-American program, the red, white, and blue. You'll have a hard copy of the GUI calculator, and you'll have a hard copy of the console calculator. All right, and we're going to pick it up there tomorrow, Tuesday, the 10th of January, 2017. So I'll talk to you then.